President Trump, in his successful campaign to retake the White House, made clear that if voters returned him to the Oval Office, he would not forget those who he says wronged him.
I am your warrior. I am your justice. And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. I am your retribution.
The list of people whom the president and his family have taken issue with is laid out in a new book by the president's son, Eric Trump, that is called Under Siege: My Family's Fight to Save Our Nation. It details what Eric Trump says was a coordinated plan to destroy his family, a plan that he says extended to the nation's biggest banks, cutting off access to the kind of financing that developers need for real estate ventures. Eric Trump writes in his new book, quote, "The same siege came from some insurance carriers and other financial partners, and when we lost our banking, we quickly became a leader in cryptocurrency." In fact, a Forbes article last week declared that Trump is now one of America's biggest Bitcoin investors. I want to talk about all of this with my next source, the executive vice president of the Trump Organization, the author of Under Siege, Eric Trump. And thanks for being here, sir, and congrats on the book. Obviously, as we noted, you have been pretty busy lately on expanding into a range of ventures, including crypto. You recently told the Financial Times that it has actually netted your family over $1 billion in pre-tax profits over the past year. And I think for an industry that is changing as much as crypto is, and for someone who is new, relatively new to that world, how did you make so much money so fast?
Caitlin, I never thought I'd get into crypto, and I talk about it a lot in Under Siege. We were debanked. We were deplatformed. They came after us like absolute dogs. I was the guy getting the call from Capital One and JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America and so many others in the middle of the night saying, congratulations, we're canceling all your bank accounts and you can't do business anymore. They literally shut us out of the financial markets for doing absolutely nothing wrong, only because my father decided to wear a hat that said, "Make America Great Again." They wanted to take the rails out from under our business. These aren't political entities. These are golf courses. These are condominium buildings. And they tried to destroy us. And that's when I found that I don't think there's anything that traditional finance can do better than crypto. Crypto's faster. It's cheaper. It's more transparent. You know, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's the modern and future finance. And so the same people that were coming after us were going after the people in the crypto industry. And I realized how smart they were, and I realized how innovative they were. And I'm incredibly proud to be part of the crypto industry. It is the industry that is going to govern finance in 3, 5, and 10 years.
Well, you said recently that the crypto space is basically 50%, or I think you said at least 50% of what you're doing. How much of the business is still real estate projects, and how much of it is crypto now?
Yeah. Oh, a tremendous amount of real estate. Obviously, you know our hard assets. You've been to so many of them over the years, and I love real estate. Hard assets is my bread and butter, and it's what I absolutely love to do. We're builders. But, you know, I really do believe cryptocurrency, mainly Bitcoin, is the greatest hedge against real estate, right? You know, one's a very illiquid asset. One's a very liquid asset. It's tradable 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's tradable around the world. You know, there's no middlemen. There's no banks. There's no financial institutions. It can't be stripped from you. It can't be weaponized against you. And I think it's one of the things that has so much appeal for the crypto industry and why it's the fastest growing industry on earth right now. I mean, crypto is literally growing faster than the internet was in the 1990s. And it's amazing. And you watch every big bank get into crypto now. They have to. You watch what Bitcoin's doing. You watch what Ethereum's doing. You watch what stable coins are doing. And you watch how much money is coming into the United States based on cryptocurrency. And that's a wonderful thing for the U.S. dollar.
Yeah, and when your father retook office this time, I mean, he was pretty skeptical of it the last time he was in office. I remember that. And this time he said he wanted to be the first crypto president. And you know, to do that, he's installed a lot of pro-crypto aides inside the administration. He has a new crypto task force. They've loosened regulations. Some people want to know, how do you draw the line between what he does as president and what your family does as business?
Well, I think you know me well enough to know that I stay the hell out of Washington, D.C., and I always have. And listen, again, we found crypto because we were debanked. They tried to take everything away from us, and we found that industry because of that. But if you look at all around the world, right, everybody wants the U.S. dollar. Everybody, universally. No one in Asia wants any of their currencies. No one in Europe wants the euro. No one wants the pound. No one wants any of the South American or African currencies. Guess what they want? They all want the U.S. dollar. And so what's happening is you look at instability around the world, people are gravitating toward the American system. And I think that's a beautiful thing for our country. And Caitlin, if you look at China, they were running toward cryptocurrency. If you look at the UAE, if you look at, you know, the entire Middle East, they were all sprinting toward cryptocurrency. My father's winning the race, and he's winning it for America, and I'm incredibly proud of that because this just is the future of banking. It's the future of finance. You know, I mean, again, This is what is growing the fastest in the world. It's picking up tens and tens and tens of thousands of accounts every single day. And America needs to win the race in this, revolution.
Yeah, but by easing the restrictions on the crypto industry, would you acknowledge that your family has benefited from those changes?
I mean, Caitlin, all of our crypto ventures started when we were in courthouses. I mean, you were often sitting next to me on those wooden pews in front of Mershon and Engoron. And we were literally working in the crypto industry in those days when everybody gave us zero chance of actually winning. They said we had no shot, and it was much more likely that we were all going to get put in jail for doing absolutely nothing, hence under siege, right, than be back in the White House. So, no, I think one has nothing to do with the other. I think, crypto is modern day finance. And what do you say, what are you going to do? Stay out of the financial industry when you've been in business for your entire life? But nothing I do has anything to do with the White House. Nothing I do has anything to do with Washington, D.C. I try and stay as far away from that place as humanly possible.
I wonder how you navigate it, because last week your dad threatened 100% tariffs on Chinese imports and threatened export controls on that. It led to this huge panic sell. It cost some investors billions of, as you know. I do wonder how you navigate that and how you deal with that, given obviously your dad has a lot of power over this industry, and obviously your family also has a pretty big stake in it.
I've never been more proud of the U.S. I mean, we were losing our standing around the world. I would travel around the world, Caitlin, and people were embarrassed. People were embarrassed by Joe Biden. People were embarrassed by this country. They were embarrassed by the leadership of this country. They were embarrassed by DEI. They were embarrassed by men my size swimming in women's sports. We have a country that's back. We have a country that's doing incredibly well. We have a country where oil prices is falling tremendously. We have a country where inflation is back to normal rates. We have a country that everybody wants to be a part of. My father's brought in close to $17 trillion back into the United States of America, all money that would never have been there before. He's doing amazing things for our economy, and I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to see it, and I think every American should be applauding from the rooftops because the guy is doing an unbelievable job. It's exactly what this nation needed at the right time.
Well, but you're praising him, and in your book, we know one thing I was thinking, I'm on here on Capitol Hill, and in your book, you criticize how members of Congress are allowed to buy and sell stock. You don't think that should be able to happen. Obviously, that's a big criticism that we've heard from other people. But when it comes to you said you have nothing to do with what your father's administration is doing, that he doesn't have anything to do with this. But I think some people might want to know, how do you determine, whether something is a conflict of interest? Who really is doing that in this position for you?
Well, obviously we have external ethics advisors. We take that very, very seriously. But yeah, no, I have a huge problem when Nancy Pelosi front runs every trade vis-a-vis her husband, 3 weeks before her legislation gets passed. Yeah, I have a real problem with that. I mean, Nancy Pelosi has made Warren Buffett, look like a lukewarm investor based on some of her trades, all based on inside information. I find it disgusting. I have no inside information. I have nothing to do with Washington, D.C. I have nothing to do with any kind of legislation. But no, I find it wholly troublesome when U.S. senators and Congress people, before they vote on legislation, are putting in trades that double, triple, quadruple their money. I find a real problem with that.
So you don't ever talk about crypto with your dad?
I really don't. I really don't. I mean, my father was a great proponent of the industry because the industry came out in a very, very big way for my father. My father spoke at all the Bitcoin conferences, obviously, as he was running and even before he was running. And the industry embraced him and he embraced the industry because guess what? This is the future of finance, right? You can't ignore it. You can't ignore it. America would get run over if you ignored cryptocurrency. Everything is done better, faster, cheaper. I mean, Caitlin, you want to go out and get a mortgage for your house. Why? You go to JP Morgan Chase. It takes you 120 days to get that mortgage. Why? Why? I mean, if you have the assets in the bank, why can't you get the money instantaneously? Why can you not send a wire transfer at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday? It won't get there until Monday. Why is traditional finance so slow? Why is it so antiquated? Why is it so expensive? There's nothing that can't be done better, cheaper, faster on the blockchain, and that's a beautiful thing for the United States.
I see your point that you're arguing that you think it's better. Obviously, your dad does have a big stake in the business, but I want you to hear something that Marjorie Taylor Greene had to say about this. She's a really big supporter of your father's, as you know. This is something that she said just recently.
Have regular people's bank accounts been affected? Has the stress come off? No, that has not happened yet, and that needs to be the major focus. It shouldn't be about helping your crypto donors or your AI donors or welcoming in these people that hated you and spent money to try to beat you, but all of a sudden are excited to come out to the new Rose Garden patio.
What's your reaction to that?
I'm not really sure what that means. I mean, I think she's trying to describe lobbyists, and I think that probably the person that hates lobbyists the most in Washington, D.C. is my father. He never was supported by lobbyists.
Donors.
Lobbyists never gave my father any money. You know, I mean, listen, Caitlin, in all fairness, you were there with us through it. My father, he self-funded his entire first campaign minus a little bit of money. You know, if there's one person who wasn't taking money from lobbyists, it was Donald Trump. It seems like everybody else in Washington, D.C. does, but the one person who's never needed lobbyists' money is Donald Trump.
I was just in the Middle East with your dad. He obviously brokered the ceasefire in Gaza, was there meeting with a bunch of world leaders on what the future of that is going to look like in the phase 2 of that agreement and how to implement that. There was a moment where he was speaking with the president of Indonesia. It got a lot of attention. I know you've seen this, but I want everyone else to see this as well.
Thank you.
That's what it is. I told Harry also. I told Harry. Yeah, but we look for better place. Yeah, all. Thank you.
Thank you. I like that you told me that. We don't need.
Obviously, there are investment projects happening in Indonesia. First off, have you heard from the president? Has he called you?
No, not about that, but I'm glad he acknowledges that I'm a good boy. I am a good boy. We have two of the biggest projects in Indonesia. We signed those in 2014, 2015, respectively. Got a great project in Bali. We've been working on it for a decade. We've got a great project right outside Jakarta, a great golf course that I operate every single day. Incredibly proud of it. It's probably the greatest course in the region. And so I'm honored that the president knows about it and clearly asks about it, because they're probably two of the most consequential real estate projects, obviously, in the region. That started before my father's first presidency, before my father first even won, probably before he actually started campaigning. And so I'm honored that he knows about it. I've never met the president of Indonesia, but it doesn't surprise me given the magnitude and prominence of those projects that he knows about what I'm doing over there.
For people who see that moment and say, well, there's supposed to be, this wall between the president and his business and what's happening, as you described it, a big wall that was put in place, and he's not supposed to be involved in the day-to-day activities. Yeah. I mean, what does it say when a world leader clearly thinks he is and is asking, it seemed in reference to that, and asking to get in touch with you?
I think there's a huge wall. I mean, there's so much of a wall that the guy's never met me. I mean, think about that, Caitlin. Think about your question, right? I mean, the president has never met me, and he said, I'd love to meet your son because I know he has two of the biggest projects in Indonesia that started over a decade ago, before, again, we even got involved in politics. I mean, again, I take that as a great honor, right? I mean, we've got two very prominent projects, and the guy asked to meet me because he has never met me. And so, I don't know, I think that probably indicates that there's a pretty damn big wall right there.
Eric Trump, thank you for your time tonight. The new book is Under Siege, My Family's Fight to Nation. Really appreciate you coming on the show.